after finishing another homeschool year. Summer is a time that we as a homeschool family shift into a season of different rhythms. And today I'm sharing with you our summer reset, what a homeschooling family that's as large as ours, what do we do for the summer months, and I'm also answering 10 of the questions that I get as a homeschool mom. How do I homeschool all these kids? So I'm really happy to share my thoughts with you, and hopefully this will be helpful for you and give you some encouragement and some ideas. For summer, we don't stop learning completely. We instead shift, and the season becomes slower. It becomes busier in some ways. We're busy with baseball and we have camping and lots of different activities going on. But it's also a time that we have together as a family to recharge. And I also use this time to work on some of the habits that we will benefit from during the next school year. Right now, focusing a lot on our summer rhythm, our habits. And when I say habits, I'll share more with you about what I mean, but in general, setting the rhythm and the routine for our day, and chores, and I'm going to share with you some specific examples. I'm also going to share with you how I decompress as a mom, how I plan for our next school year, and then also I hope by answering some of your questions that will help you with planning your own homeschool year and looking ahead for the year. Summer for us is a mixture of freedom and structure. I choose a summer read aloud. This year we're going to be reading The Secret Garden, and my daughter is 7 years old and she really is enjoying that. So this summer's read aloud is The Secret Garden. Past years I have read Summer of the Monkeys, Trumpet of the Swan. We read Charlotte's Web one year, Swallows and Amazons. We had some really lovely read alouds, very good memories from those books. And we're also going to be doing some math drills, keeping up on our math facts and keeping those close at hand. We're going to be spending lots of time outdoors, swimming, we have baseball, we have lots of activities, we have camping, simple outings together, nights at the zoo, going to parks, and just spending time in the backyard, having bonfires. We are hoping to get our pool set up this summer. The kids are really looking forward to having a pool. Otherwise, we also go to the Y, and we just have so much fun during the summer. The big focus for me over the summer is not the academics, it is our habits. And so habits are really, really important because it's what's going to set the framework for your school time. We want our kids to be able to learn, but unless they have the habits in place, it's really going to be very difficult for them to actually learn and for them to actually pay attention and for your days to go smoothly. So summer is the time that we focus on those habits. And I'm going to show you here. So this is one of my kids' chore charts. Each child has a chore chart, and this is my youngest daughter's chore chart. But when I say habits, I mean we're going to practice making our bed. And so each child, when they get up, they need to have these things done before they even come downstairs. They get up and they should make their bed right away. I want them to brush their teeth. I also want them to get dressed. So those three things, those three habits are what I'm focusing on, and we're going to work on that. And then we will move to, this is not on my youngest child's chore chart, but for my other kids' chore charts, some things will be tidying up their room, putting dirty laundry in the laundry basket. Each child also has a chore that they need to accomplish every day. They have a mealtime chore. Maybe that person's job is to wipe off the table. Maybe that person's job is to wash dishes. Maybe another person dries and they put away. Another person takes out the trash. So they always have a chore that they do for meal times, and we do that collectively. But there is also a chore that they need to do each day, whether that is taking care of the dog. A child might have that job, their job is to take care of making sure that the dog is fed and look after the dog. Another child has a chore where they have the job of vacuuming, and so their job is to vacuum every day. I have another child who their job is to do the laundry. Each child has their own chore chart and what is expected of them every day. And so this is what we are working on in terms of habits, is getting in the habit every morning. You get up, you make your bed, you brush your teeth, you get dressed, you tidy up your space, then you come down and we move on with our day. And so that is things that I work on that we need to make sure that we're doing consistently. And then when we are doing our schoolwork, then we can proceed with our day, and everybody knows what they should be doing, how to get themselves ready for the day, and that takes at least one thing off my plate of everybody being on the same page and we're all moving together. And they also need to take responsibility for their space. And so, as I mentioned before, they have chores, and each child keeps their chore for a year. And the idea is that they become proficient at that job. And it also cuts down on me having to look for the person who's supposed to do that job. I don't know if this happens at your house, but this happens at ours, that whenever something's left out or not picked up or something's broken, it's always the answer, well, not me, that wasn't my job. And so I just really nipped that in the bud of, this is this person's job. And each time I know if it wasn't done, I know exactly who to go find. I know exactly who didn't do their chore, and I don't have to look at the day of the week. I don't have to look at any of that. I know exactly who it was and who's responsible for it. Now, another thing that it also helps with is training the child, because you really can't expect the child to just know how to do it. So over the summer, I spent a lot of time having kind of an orientation and explaining to them exactly how to do their job, making sure that they know what's expected, they know how to do the job correctly, they've had it modeled for them, they've been supervised through it, and I'm checking it. And so having that time dedicated over the summer to setting good habits and chores is so beneficial to having our school time running well over the summer. And you can do that no matter what size your family is. If you have a large family or you only have a couple kids in your family, maybe one or two, that is not the number one thing. And you don't necessarily have to use a chore chart, but it helps me with keeping track of, these are the things that we're working on. This is what you need to be doing every single day It's on here, and for the little kids, I have pictures. The older kids, not quite so, not there aren't pictures and things. Theirs are more grown up and not so juvenile. We also try to enjoy the summer season outside the house. We have so many things planned this summer, really, really excited about, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. We have baseball, we have swimming, like I shared with you, setting up our pool. We hit a snag. Hopefully we will get there. If not, I guess we'll just go to the Y and we'll try the pool again next summer if it doesn't happen. But I'm really hoping. We're just at the beginning, and this summer has been really cool. So I think we'll be okay if it's going to be a little bit later that we get the pool set up. But we're really looking forward to that. And the kids just spend so much time outside and really get to enjoy that. We are also having camping. One of my oldest son is, he has a job, but he also has some camps coming up. So he's going to be busy with that, helping him get ready for those things. He has a kayaking trip. He also has an encampment with Civil Air Patrol. So he's really busy between the job and the camps coming up. My middle son, my second oldest son, has volunteer work with the zoo. He has baseball. He also has a youth week with our church. So he has a very busy summer, and the rest of the kids have baseball and swimming lessons. We also are planning on going strawberry picking, blueberry picking. We have festivals and fairs, and we have some vacations, camping coming up, and just spending time together as a family, taking walks and bike rides. Those are so important. Playing baseball and kickball in the backyard with the kids, and just giving the kids time to be bored. I think that's one of the most important things about kids today, is having them just spending time outside. And it's amazing to see the things that they discover, the things that they find out, just by being outside, not having necessarily a lot of toys or the TV, but that creativity that really comes out, and giving them those opportunities to have the downtime and do the exploring and the creativity, and really just being bored. And if they're bored, the options that they have is they can read, they can play games together. They also have some chores that they need to do outside. We have a garden, so they all need to help with weeding that. My oldest helps with mowing, and my second son, his job this summer is weed whacking. So I've got somebody mowing, I have somebody weed whacking. The little kids are helping with watering. And so we're just really working together as a family. And everybody is also responsible for helping keeping things tidy. But I'm really looking forward to just having those evenings together as a family, having a bonfire, the kids chasing lightning bugs, making s'mores, having them, just having, I'm blanking on it, just having popsicles out in the yard. It just makes it such a nice summer, and so many good memories, and having friends over. That's another thing that the kids are looking forward to, is just being able to spend time with their friends, riding bikes and just being able to have those childhood memories. Summertime is a time for me personally to reset, and I wanted to share some resources with you that I really have found very inspirational. I read these every year, so that way I can get in the frame of mind to be able to move forward and to teach for next year. So one of my favorite resources is Teaching from Rest. And this book is by Sarah McKenzie, and her website and resources are so wonderful. But Teaching from Rest has just been one of those resources that I've come back to every single year, and I really appreciate her thought of teaching from rest. And it's not teaching from rest like you're teaching from the couch, but it's teaching from rest, as in rest from stress from overwhelm, and teaching from a place of a place of peace is really the theory. And I really, really need that reminder every year. So I'm very grateful for that. My next favorite author, and there's coffee stains on it, is Cindy Rollins, and she wrote Mere Motherhood, and I have the Beyond Mere Motherhood. And so this book is definitely worth having for me. I absolutely love it. It's such a good reminder that moms are people too, and that my own education, my own spiritual journey, my own personal growth is just as important as the kids. And I really appreciate that from Cindy Rollins. I also love her book, Mere Motherhood. I read it every single year, and I just end up always being so inspired by her story of raising her kids, and it just is so inspirational for me as also a large family mom, although her journey is a little further along than mine, but just the experiences, and I really resonate with the challenges that she described, but it's also so encouraging to me, the fruit of faithfulness. I also have Cindy's Morning Time Companion. I have Cindy's Morning Time book. I highly recommend that. That is just so lovely, and one of the best resources I think out there for morning time. Another resource that I absolutely love is Karen Andriola and her Charlotte Mason Companion. Now, Karen has written a number of books that are absolutely lovely and absolutely wonderful, but this is one of my favorites for me as a mom and preparing for the school year, and really considering what is the objective, what is the point of spending all this time, what am I seeking to accomplish, and how in which do I want to accomplish it. And she has some wonderful ideas in here on education and incorporating Charlotte Mason's ideas. So I highly, highly recommend these 3 books on being a mom. I also have a slower rhythm for myself. I have embroidery projects, I have gardening, spending time with the kids, spending time with my family, and just taking that time in that just slower rhythm and establishing good habits for myself. I think it's really easy when we're taking care of so many children, or if you don't have a lot of children, or maybe even if you do have several children, but things of work or just getting caught up on things, it can be really hard to slow down and reevaluate, am I doing things to take care of myself? Sometimes there's days where I realize I forgot to brush my teeth. I brushed a whole bunch of people's teeth, but did I actually brush my own? Am I having breakfast? I gave everybody breakfast. I gave a whole bunch of people breakfast, but did I actually eat the breakfast? And so reevaluating those things. And while they're so important for our kids to have those things, it's also important for you, yourself, and modeling that and making sure that I'm requiring of myself the same things and that I'm not getting missed or neglected. And so I really take the summertime to evaluate my own habits, my own mindset, my own resources. And a big part of the summer for me is planning for our next homeschool year. And so I already have my homeschool lesson planning calendar. I found this at a curriculum closet. I got it for free. I was so excited. And so I've already gone through and I've mapped out what our schedule looks like. In the state of Indiana, we have to meet 180 days. What does that look like? How am I going to fit that in? What do I want each season to look like? And so that's really how I plan this out. And it's so helpful for me in terms of determining this is the time that I have, and this is what we have going on. So what kind of curriculum do I need to meet this and the reality of our life? And so I take the time to really evaluate our curriculum, our plans, everything that we have going on. What are the things that we want to do? What are the things that are the priority? And how can we make our curriculum fit into this? And I'm really all about simplifying. And so this year, the rule or the word of the year, I guess, is simplify. And what I do in terms of planning for the next year is I come up with a basic plan of what we need to accomplish each week in order to meet our goal of 180 days. And my ideal schedule is Labor Day to Memorial Day. This year, Labor Day is really late. And so I'm thinking we'll probably start the 31st of August is a Monday, and that kind of feels good to me. We'll also probably see how summer goes. If we're all bored by August, then maybe we should start early. But if we're also busy and have so much going on, maybe it's best if we push things back. And so just kind of having in those flex days and considering that. Also considering how much time do I want to take off for Christmas? How much time do I want to take off for Thanksgiving? What does it look like for Easter and Holy Week? What kind of things do I know that I can anticipate? Field trips, and then just knowing that we're going to have days where we have sick days, or I might need a mental health day. You know, always have to factor in a couple of those too. So how do I make sure that we get in our days? And so that's what I'm also looking at too. And then my plan is I go ahead and fill in, this has a weekly overview, but so weekly plan, and so it's blank. And then let me see, did I have any that I filled in? I've done things over the years, but I feel like this is, yeah, okay. So here's one that's filled out for my plan so far. So each week, I'll show you what we have planned. So each week is roughly the same. And so I have planned out our Bible time and our morning time. And so we start off our day with World Watch. So that's a given. That goes in. That's not going to change. So if you've never heard of World Watch, I highly recommend it. It's a 10-minute long newsreel for the kids. It's great for having our cultural discussions and current events. That's the word I'm looking for. Talking about current events and what's going on in the world. And it's all done in there can be some really serious things going on in the world. And they do it in such a very tasteful way that you can feel okay with having your kids watch this. And they also have a number of things that are very positive that are going on in the world. And I feel like they do a really good job of having even educational things, and the kids just do such a great job with watching it. It's one of their favorite parts of the day. And so we always start off with World Watch because that is the number one thing that gathers my kids together. Like, instead of saying, hey, it's school time, I say, hey guys, it's time to watch morning watch, or the World Watch. it's time for World Watch, and everybody comes running. They just really enjoy it so much. So that's what we do, and we start off every morning with World Watch, and then we go into our Bible lesson for that day, the hymn, we have memory work that we do, and then each day of the week I have a different riches subject. Mondays we do picture study, Tuesday we have a folk song, Wednesday we have a composer that we study for a whole semester. Same with the picture we study, an artist for a whole 6 weeks. Same folk song for a month. And Friday is poetry. So I plug in what I know is not going to change, and then I also plan out history. We're going to do history every week. So history is going to be 3 days a week next semester, and then we're going to have science 2 days a week. And everybody's going to do language arts. Everybody's going to do math. We're going to do math drills. And then my second grader, she's working on her phonics and her reading. So that's going to go in every day. My kindergartner, all that stuff is going to go in every single day. So I fill that in. And then when it comes time where we actually do that, I then just go and I fill in what we did that day. So I've kind of done it 2 ways, where I filled it out beforehand and had this grand, glorious plan. And now I just really look at the calendar and I just figure out, what is the basics? What do we need to accomplish each day? What are we going to do each day? What's the rhythm going to look like? And then I just go and I fill in what we did that day on the day of. And it just makes it so much simpler, because if I were to fill this whole thing out, honestly, by the end of the first month, the whole thing's messed up. So I just very basically fill in, Monday, this is what we do on Mondays. Tuesdays, this is what we do on Tuesdays. This doesn't change. And then the day of, I just go and I write in the lesson that we did and what did we do. And that way, that keeps me on track. It helps me find out what we need to be working on, and maybe we missed a day because we were sick, or maybe we had this field trip opportunity come up, and it just is really, really helpful to just fill in what we did for the day. So that is planned. I used to think that summer looked like either total structure or total chaos. But over time, I've realized that it's just a season of restoration, that we focus on building habits, that we're going to enjoy our family time together. And we're also going to give ourselves the space to be able to breathe before next year begins. We're going to do the best that we can to plan for having a great year and do the things that we can do in order to have a really good year. But having that buffer and that breathing room just really helps prevent the burnout that can come. So that is the biggest thing that I have found makes a big change. So now I want to get into some of the questions that I've had from different people, some of the questions that I've had about homeschooling. So I wanted to share with you what works for us. Again, what works for me may not work for you and your family, but I hope that this encourages you and helps you to know that even if something that works for me or works for another mom doesn't necessarily work for you, I want to encourage you that you can find what works for you, absolutely, and that you can glean these ideas and hopefully find something that works for you in your situation. So one of the questions that I very often get is, how do you homeschool during the summer? And that was mainly what this film was all about, was our summer reset. that during the summer, I don't do formal homeschooling in the same way as the school year, but that doesn't mean that we're not learning. That doesn't mean that we're not going to keep up on like our math skills or our reading. Those are the really important things that we need to work on, and those habits. So it's just keeping up on those skills, the math skills and the reading, and focusing on it's really about keeping those skills fresh and working that like a muscle, but also giving ourselves the chance to become refreshed, and also just let our learning happen through real life. So very important. Do your kids do we do school all year round, or do we do school all year round, or do we take a break? I definitely do not homeschool all year round. Now, there have been seasons and times when I have had to homeschool a little differently because we were expecting a new baby and that fell during the school year, or there have been times that I've worked out of the home, and so it's looked different in very different seasons, and that is perfectly okay. But this year we are slowing down over the summer, and I have found that that really works best for us and for our family in this season, is for us to slow down, focus on the reading, focus on math drills, and the rest is just learning through life. How do you keep the kids from forgetting everything over the summer? I can't. So there's just too much. There just is. And my goal is, rather than keeping them from forgetting things, is to simply have the consistency. We're going to keep the consistency of reading. We're going to keep the consistency of math drills, and just lots of hands-on life experiences. And I think that that is more important than, I feel that that is a lot more important to have those touch points rather than having our school be part of the summer. And I know families that homeschool all year round, and that works beautifully for them. It doesn't work for us, and that is okay. And I don't feel that that really sets us that far behind, or I don't feel that it's a negative for us to take a break. I feel that the break is really beneficial, and the focus on the consistency and the habits actually benefits us more in the long run. So what does a normal summer day look like in our home? So our days usually starts with getting out the door for baseball. My kids play Wildcat, and I usually have someone playing ball every single day. So it may be a relaxing morning, but most of the mornings it's going out the door for baseball. And then our evenings are really relaxing. We come home in the afternoon from baseball, and we just spend the afternoons relaxing. And most of our day is really spent outside, whether that's swimming, playing baseball, playing in the yard, or just being together as a family takes up a lot of our time. It's really simple, but it is really simple, but it is a really full way to, it is really simple, but it is different in a way. It is simple, but really full in a different way than our school year. How do I manage chores and habits during the summer? So we work on things like making beds, brushing teeth, and getting dressed consistently. cleaning up after yourself and rotating through chores. So it's not intense or rigid, it just becomes very intentional. And I found that this is the season over the summer months where those life skills really begin to stick. And so that's how we spend our time focusing on the habits and chores. Do we follow a schedule over the summer or just wing it? And with having baseball, I cannot wing it. We have a lot going on, and I have multiple kids going in multiple different directions. So there is some relaxation. There's definitely it's hard to follow a strict schedule over the summer with so much going on, and instead I consider it to be a rhythm. We're going to do the same thing every single day, no matter what we have going on. We're going to get up and we're going to make our bed, and we're going to get dressed, and we're going to brush our teeth, and we're going to do the dishes, and we're going to do a load of laundry. And so, and you know, when we come home, we're going to spend some time outside, and we're going to water the garden, and we're going to play together as a family. And so these things, these rhythms keep our family together, but it also keeps the flexibility for life's just unknowns. Life is just unpredictable at times, and so that offers us the flexibility, but it also gives us the rhythm so we know what is coming next and what's expected. Number 7, how do you avoid burnout as a homeschool mom? So burnout can show up when I'm trying to do too much, or having too rigid or holding too tightly to expectations. You have in your mind that this is how the homeschool year is going to go, and there's stuff that happens. Like I said, there's things that happens. People get sick, or someone has a doctor's appointment. There are things that happen and they derail the perfect schedule. And so instead of hanging on to the perfect schedule and or doing too much, which is what this planner is really great at helping me see, if it's even feasible. What can I realistically do with 7 students in one day? And so the schedule is super, super helpful. But it's a better, it does a better job at helping me focus and prioritizing. So in the summer especially, I focus on slowing down, and I focus on letting go of what is not actually going to be important. So when I simplify and I give myself the permission to rest, I actually come back to homeschooling in September feeling so much more prepared and so much more ready than I would if I was really burnt out over the summer. So I spend time reading. I spend time reading books like Teaching from Rest, Mere Motherhood, Carrie Ann Friola's writings, and that really helps with shifting my mindset as well. I also do some small creative things like embroidering, I do gardening, or slow mornings with coffee before the day gets going. It really helps me step back from the homeschool year and give it a lot of thought, as well as a lot of clarity in terms of moving forward with the school year. How do I transition from, how do I make the transition from the homeschool year into summer without chaos? All right, so I make the transition very intentionally. I plan ahead for closing out the school year. And this year I took my kids to the zoo. Other times I've done a special dinner. Last year was creation to the Greeks. and we had a Greek dinner, and then we did mini Olympic Games with our family. So I try to make the last day of our school, wrapping that up, a big finale, something really special for them we're done with this season. And then I also have a plan for what are we going to focus on in terms of habits. I pay attention to what we need to do, what are we slipping on, and what do we really need to focus on? Who needs to have their chores switched, and what is that going to look like in that season? And shifting that back, and shifting that, and just being very intentional about what that planning and what this season looks like. And it's a really great time to focus on the plans for the new year, and the routines and the habits, and what's going to help us with facilitating having a good year that is not chaos. And also stepping back and just letting the summer be amazing and having so much fun, focusing on a lot of fun, balances out. Having the summer be so much fun is a really, really good balance. And lastly, I want to share with you, why do I homeschool every year? Well, for us, homeschooling is not just about education, it is also about our family life. And it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience seeing now my 11th grader becoming who they are meant to be. And it's been an amazing journey and an awesome privilege to be a part of that. I love that we can learn together, and I also love that we can slow down when we need to. And I love that we can build our days around our family rather than a system. So we have the consistency of this is what we do every single day. But if it needs to be adapted or modified, we can do that. And we have the freedom to do that. And that is wonderful. It's not always easy. There's a lot of challenges that come with it, but it is a life that I value and that I keep choosing every year. And this summer, we are just embracing a slower season, building habits, spending time together, and getting ready for whatever comes next. Every season in our home has its own rhythm, and summer is one of my favorites because it slows everything down just enough for us to breathe. We don't have the outside activities except for baseball, and it's just something I look forward to every year. Really love to spend the summer together as a family. We're not trying to do everything, we're just trying to live well together. And in this season, that's more than enough. So soon we're going to be stepping into a brand new season of a homeschool year again. But for now, we're simply enjoying the slower pace and more intentional season as a large family.